what I want to say here, before we enter the pyramid, is that we are entering a very special place. It's a chamber that is second only to the Great Pyramid of Egypt. The alignment and the precision is what's key to anything that's involving sacred geometry, and the fact that it has no ferrous metals in it, so it's oriented to true north versus magnetic north, and the setting and the whole lack of interfering energy. There's no electricity there, and so on. These all mount up to an experience that you can only get if you go to Egypt and here to Summerhill. And right now, as you know, you don't want to go to Egypt. So
not yet, anyways.
Not yet. But actually, I've been there 3 times, and I had the privilege of being in the Great Pyramid, you know, and for long periods of time and all that. And I got wonderful ideas through that experience, or those experiences. I'll explain how the pyramid is built to such great precision, and why precision is important, and why it's a chamber where it's almost like automatic, how would you say, meditation, for lack of a better word. It allows us to go within. It allows us to be our whole selves.
Excellent.
If I stand here, then you can see the pyramid behind me.
All right.
And the first part of why we started doing the pyramid is that in France and in Spain and many other places where they make sparkling wine, they have what they call a marriage period, where it is customary to add the dosage, which is the sweetener, to the cuvée, which is what happens after the second fermentation. And for at least 30 days, this marriage period of the sweetener and the original cuvée marry. And it's in Europe, they put them into Roman art cellars. Côte d'Ivoire has 40 miles of Roman art cellars.
Wow.
And so I decided, hey, if we're going to make the best sparkling wine in the world, which, by the way, we got the award for best in the world in England, we have to have a sacred geometry chamber. And it's very difficult to make a Roman arch here in BC. We have a lot of sand, you know.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be second best, but actually it's totally first best to have a precision pyramid. So we're thrilled with the results, and we're thrilled with you know, what we have here. The temple portion, which is in the front here, is built in an 8:9 ratio, which is taken from the works of Schwallow de Lubitsch, who was a Frenchman who lived in Egypt for 16 years with his daughter Lucy Lamy.
Wow.
And they discovered that all of the statues and all of the temples along the Nile, and all of them are designed with musical ratios. It's actually like almost like life force energy captured in stone. There's a place where there's the Holy of Holies and all kinds of great things there. So I point these things out because we are now going to step into a beautiful, different place. It's almost like outside of the world. Your visitors on the video, of course, won't be able to experience this, but what we've been doing now with the latest tours, and they're loving it, is to ask everyone to turn off their cell phones and focus on their breath, so that their thoughts are minimized, and come into the pyramid with an open mind and be receivers, and just sit with their feet on the floor and have a quiet time, maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes of no talking and no communication. And for some, it's the first time they've ever done this. And it's just been a beautiful treat. I mean, we get so many compliments. Oh, Steve, we love your pyramid. Yeah, that was amazing. Stuff like that. So yeah. So from here, maybe we won't talk. We'll just go in. If you'd like to keep the camera rolling, and those who are watching this could kind of make believe that they're with us.
Okay.
And maybe they'll get a contact high.
Sounds great. That's good.
The drain is in the exact middle of the pyramid.
Wow.
And it's the most powerful place to stand.
Wow.
If you want to stand there, you'll get a feeling, or perhaps you will, you have to be open-minded to it.
I could definitely feel something as soon as I walked inside the pyramid.
Yeah.
A very, very powerful energy.
And then you can point the camera right up to the apex, which is, it has a
Oh yeah.
cluster of smoky quartz crystal.
Oh yeah, I can feel it. It's like a beam of energy just coming down.
Yeah. And we did the copper around the base and up the hips. It was so powerful that we had to put a grounder in to ground the copper down into the earth 5 feet.
Absolutely amazing. It's beautiful architecture and everything is just so perfect. We can get a nice close up on that. Big crystals there. That is amazing. Some beautiful flowers and everything. So yeah, one of the things I would ask you first, Stephen, is kind of what inspired you to create this pyramid? How long have you been pursuing the whole nature of the pyramid itself?
The pyramid is possibly the most effective chamber of sacred geometry that we can have. Roman arch cellars are one format, domes are another, pardon me, but the pyramid, especially one that is built to the specifications of the Great Pyramid, I think would be the strongest, most effective way to affect liquids. And that's what we wanted to do, is affect liquids. And you might ask, well, how does it affect liquids, right? And the real answer to that, after much research and talking to a lot of people, is that it's a clarifier. For instance, if you put a wine in here that has a flaw, it will accentuate the flaw. And if you come in here in a bad mood, you won't feel good after a while. You'll want to get out of here quick. So, because we are mostly liquid too, you know, humans. Quite a lot of interesting things about pyramids. Here we live in the middle of an 80-acre vineyard that's organic, and there are no bugs in here, and there never are. If you go into the winery, there's bugs everywhere. If you go into my house in the vineyard, there's bugs everywhere. But for some reason, it automatically repels bugs. It automatically repels mice and other things. There's no cobwebs, there's no spiders, there's no nothing here. And it's also, if you put unhomogenized milk in here, it turns to yogurt instead of rotting. Or if you put meat here, it will petrify instead of rotting. And the wines that we've left here, first of all, we have to be very careful that the wines we put in here have VQA approval first. Because if we put wines that have flaws in here, then again, it will accentuate the flaws. So, yeah, so we always get VQA approval when we put in finished product, or if we put in wines that are still in tank, we go through a rigorous testing to make sure they are absolutely, you know, as flaw-free as they can be.
How long do the wines remain in the pyramid?
Good question. The length of time ranges from a minimum of 30 days to some of the wines being in here for many years. The wine that won in France in the year 2000 was a 91 cuvée been here over 10 years. But it was just mind-blowingly magnificent. You know. I have to say, one of the best experiments we've ever done was only one night in the pyramid. When we spoke on public English-speaking radio through CBC, we broadcasted the interview to all the English-speaking nations in the world. And what I did was I made a pitcher full of organic frozen orange juice, and I poured 2 glasses from the same pitcher, and I put one up on the top of the door over here in the pyramid the night before the interview, and I put one down in the office. And after the interview, which took place here in the pyramid, I said to the gentleman, would you like to do a blind pyramid tasting? He said, yeah. And I said, great, because I put a glass of orange juice up there. So I climbed up and got that. And we went down to the office, and he taped us with 10 people who blindly tasted the 2 orange juices. And all 10 smelled and tasted the one that had been in the pyramid overnight as being more like fresh squeezed and much more aroma and flavor.
Oh.
And so it was 10-0. And it was really a triumph to see that, because I stuck my neck way out. I could have been crucified right there.
So has there been a lot of reports, I guess a lot of people that purchased the wine, have they felt like kind of health effects pertaining maybe to drinking wine afterwards?
You know, lots of people have told me so many wonderful things. I get beautiful feedback. I just had a grandmother thank me profusely and send me a picture of her granddaughter, who was born to her daughter after her daughter stood in the middle of the pyramid and asked to be able to be pregnant. And they've been trying for years and years and years, and nothing ever happened. And she right away, now I don't know if this has anything to do with the pyramid, it's kind of a joke, but she is totally, confident. I've had other people tell me that they were scheduled for surgery and they don't need it anymore because they felt such a healing in their lives coming into this chamber. And I felt other people tell me they couldn't sleep that night because they were just so thrilled to have contacted themselves for the first time, since they were little children, is to, find a little boy, a little girl self in ourselves. These are the things that I get excited about. And the wines, I mean, I have to take a deep breath and say that we don't say that the pyramid is responsible for the goodness of the wines, because that would be, something we don't boast about.
Something counterproductive.
Yeah, but I would say that Summerhill is probably the most awarded winery in Canada for the small winery that we are. We do less than 25,000 cases a year, and yet we win, oh my gosh, so many awards for so long, every single year, So I would say it has something to do with the pyramid, but I don't want to, get in trouble saying stuff like that. I'd rather say, it's because it's organic, because it's a beautiful, pristine valley that we're making it in, because we take so many careful steps. We're biodynamic, we're minimal intervention. That alone makes the wines very natural.
So Stephen, I didn't tell them much about the pyramid before we came in here because everyone was dying of heat. So
it's a little bit cooler
in
here.
Came right on in. And
okay.
I think you're probably the best person to tell them about all the geometry and the cool features in here.
Yeah. Well, a pyramid is a 5-sided figure, the floor and the 4 sides, and it represents the 4 elements: north, south, east, and west. There's air, water, fire, and earth. Also represents the 12 signs of the zodiac. Each point represents a different sign, and it also represents the male energy, very strong male energy. And here at Summerhill we have a balance in female energy in the kakuli, which is a native traditional pit house. And you're welcome to walk down and see it. It's just below the winery, right below the log cabin. So when you go to the wedding, have you been to the wedding yet? Okay. So it's just down there, you go to the left. And it's very interesting to see that in comparison to this, because it's a balance. It kind of balances the whole property, so to speak. And interestingly, we've just started to be more in tune with nature. We want to follow the moon, which is the basics of biodynamics, and we are certified biodynamic. We conclusively know that there is a difference. Now our next step is to try to get some actual scientific data, and we're working with University of British Columbia to have some great scientific testing done. So yeah, excited about that. We have an amazing track record of winning awards around the world for 23 years. We don't say it's the pyramid for sure, because it's just part of all the things we do. But we know that it is, an integral part of it.
Well, I think what was really, really interesting about too is like when I stepped in here, I just felt this immense burst of energy, and I think that's what you're saying as well too. It's just basically amplifying yourself.
Yeah, it's like, to me, it's instant, meditation. I walk in here and I just, I don't know, I love it.
Well, it's always kind of reminiscent of what's been described with the Great Pyramid of Giza, because Napoleon actually stated that he spent a night in the pyramid, probably had one of the worst nights of his life, of course, the kind of individual that he is. So I think it's always good, like you were saying, just coming in with a state of beingness and just being able to let the pyramid, in that sense, amplify that state of beingness.
Well,
profound.
he had probably the worst night because he had to live with himself once.
I agree.
Pretty aggressive guy. Continue.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and feel free to talk about the construction of the pyramid.
All right. We did years of experimenting. First of all, we built a wooden pyramid in the late 80s, because that's when we started to grow the grapes and get started about making, the best sparkling wine in the world. Was Eric and I met in Germany, and he's a Canadian, but he was studying for 8 years at Geisenheim, and we met and hit it off so much because we both felt, oh my gosh, we're going to make the best sparkling wine in the world. We had that shared enthusiasm. So we built this wooden pyramid, and it was the hit of the day. Everybody loved it, but it was small. And we did an experiment every day of tasting the same wine, sort of at the same temperature, one having been in the pyramid and one not. And every day people would line up to taste that. Today we still do it, but only at 4 times a year at the wine festivals. But I'm digressing. What we learned over that, by building that pyramid and by building other small wooden models, was that it is the frame that's important, not the size. The frame is 4 struts along the earth, and then the 4 hips, and then the pyramidal on the top, okay, which is solid. With that frame, we put in all kinds of liquids: water, orange juice, wine, of course, and we found profound differences in the liquids. So we knew we were doing something right. When I went to Egypt for the 3rd time, I made, to me, what is a startling discovery. And that is that the whole structure is fused stone with technology that we don't have today. We cannot cut the stones with such precision that they are fused together with no mortar. And so I said, aha, if it's the open frame, that's the effective part. Let's do a fused frame pyramid. Right? So I came back and I designed the size of the struts and the base and the pyramidal to the exact same dimensions as the wooden models that had brought us such profound results. In other words, in proportion to the small wooden ones for this size. And we had constant pouring when we had all of the braces in effect and all of the construction things happening. We had a constant pouring, truck after truck after truck, 24/7, going to the tune of 25 houses worth of concrete. Yeah, it was huge. We poured the whole cellar as well, and the frame, all at one pour. And the moment that was joined, 4 of the workmen's watches went out. That's it.
That's excellent.
So I share that with everyone because it was such a wonderful revelation to get that, that secret maybe of what they did there with that technology. I think that the technology to build the Great Pyramid is similar to the technology of building, crop circles, because we humans don't have the technology to make a crop circle. And nor do we have the technology to make the Great Pyramid. We could not duplicate that today.
That's right.
That building is the largest man-made, quote, man-made building in the world, and yet it is the most precise. And today's skyscrapers are a quarter of that size, base-wise, and yet they cannot be precision. no matter what they do. We don't have that technology.
Well, that's what I always found interesting too, is just looking at the architecture of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And I think the only thing that came close was not really something that was pyramidal architecture, but one person named Ed Leeds-Skelman was able to create what's known as Coral Castle in Florida. And he was basically using a lot of this anti-gravitational technology that he discovered to actually infuse rock into rock and actually create repolarization of different forms of rocks and stones.
Okay.
So I guess like with what you're saying here is that everything really is just fused together in regards to that mimicking, so to speak, of what the Great Pyramid of Giza has.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a wonderful feeling. Now the next step, all these years, we built this building in 1997, and I brought in 3 container loads of polished white limestone from the quarry right near the Great Pyramid to put on the outside. And it got yellow and flaky, and I realized that, it could be millions of years old in that desert, but as soon as you bring it here to the Okanagan, where the temperatures are wildly fluctuating between, cold at night and hot at the day, it didn't hold up.
It's so very nice and cool in here.
It's always nice and cool. But you know what we did? Just a celebration of the full moon day of the Monday the 22nd of this month, July 2013.
Superman.
Yes, it was a wonderfully, I would say, significant day in every respect, because it's one of the things about the pyramid here is we ordered granite to clad the pyramid on that day. So it's coming, white granite. Yeah. So I'd like to make a toast to our visitors who are with us in spirit. Thank you for coming today. Thank you, Brad, for having this interview. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much.
So,